Rush Limbaugh says the Tea Party is on a roll and picking up steam.
First, former Texas Solicitor General and Tea Party favorite Ted Cruz did indeed get enough votes in yesterday's Republican primary to deny Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst 50% of the vote, which means there will have to be a runoff in Texas 9 weeks from now. It also means that for the third time in 3 weeks, a Tea Party candidate has successfully taken on a Republican establishment Senate candidate and either beaten them or, as in this case, forced a runoff. Earlier this month, Richard Murdoch in Indiana beat Dick Lugar. Just had Deb Fischer upset 2 better-known candidates in Nebraska. And yet, the drive-bys continue to talk about the death of the Tea Party. The Tea Party's gone. The Tea Party's a non-factor. The Republican establishment talks about the death of the Tea Party, all because they don't see it, except on Election Day. And then they see it, and then they hear it, and then they start cursing. The Tea Party started as a protest movement, and of course you can't miss a protest movement, people showing up at town hall meetings. They move beyond that now. These are people working at the grassroots to get people elected. And it's working.
Does Rush have a point? Shira Toeplitz from Roll Call joins us. Nice to see you, Shira. So is the Tea Party picking up steam?
I don't know about that. I don't think this is 2010 where we really saw the full tour de force for the Tea Party. I think a lot of the primaries that Rush Limbaugh just named, the one in Texas, the one in Nebraska, the one in Indiana, I think these were really special cases and kind of unique races. I don't think you could necessarily say a Tea Party candidate really outright won because of Tea Party support in each of these races.
Have there been any Tea Party candidates, though, who have lost recently? I mean, it seems like, rather the fact that these 3 have... I mean, the race isn't over. Obviously, the candidate in Indiana, we haven't had the general election. They still have in Texas, have to have the primary, or between the 2. But have any Tea Party candidates failed? I mean, recently, I'm trying to think.
Well, we're only about halfway through the primary season, so on the Senate level, none really come to mind. But you have to ask yourself, what's really a Tea Party candidate in this case? If you're going to call someone like Richard Murdoch, who defeated 6th-term Senator Richard Lugar in early May, a Tea Party candidate, I don't know about that. This is a guy who's held office for the most of the last 20 years. He's a former county commissioner. He was state treasurer, elected 2 terms. I don't know if that's necessarily the outsider candidate that a lot of people view as a Tea Party type.
But is it always outsider, or is it a conviction and ideology, and basically, and I hate to sort of grab on a few things, but Tea Party candidates tend to be, rather, they want the budget balanced. They tend to be, they're not crazy about incumbents. They want new blood, pretty much. They want people who are very conservative with sort of a history of conservative.
I think that's correct, but I think in Richard Murdoch's case, he's been running for office since 1990. That's before the Tea Party was even even was thought of. So I think in his case it's a little different. I think Deb Fischer, a state senator in Nebraska, again, she was there before the Tea Party movement. I think these candidates.
How did she win, though? I mean, Governor Sarah Palin was very influential, I think, in getting her elected. I mean, and I think that Governor Palin is oftentimes thought of as sort of one of the main leaders of the Tea Party movement.
Yeah,
if not the leader.
I think that's true, but what helped Deb Fischer in the end was running against 2 candidates, 2 male candidates, who had conservative support from 2 different organizations and were pretty well funded, and they kept beating each other up. So she could come through the middle and look pretty pristine, and she had a financial backer in the form of a super PAC come in and spend money for her. And especially in that primary, where a lot of the Republican voters didn't make a decision until the last 2 weeks, it's a pretty low turnout affair, that's what wanted for her. She was the agricultural candidate. It's not as simple as Tea Party versus establishment in Nebraska or a lot of these other races.
All right, let's go to Texas. Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst, he was the darling of the Republican establishment, fair enough.
Yes.
And he was denied that, he's now forced into a runoff because Ted Cruz, who is the Tea Party candidate, you agree is a Tea Party candidate?
He's the conservative alternative. Sure.
Okay. Well, I think they call it. I think
Yes.
most of the Tea Party. I mean, do you find it not significant that Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst, as the darling of the Republican Party, has got a little trouble coming up the side with Ted Cruz?
I think out of the 3 Senate races that Rush Limbaugh named, this is the one that is most fitting to his description. I do think the Tea Party played a role in Cruz's victory here, but the race isn't over yet, as you pointed out.
It is not over.
They have to go to a runoff, which is going to be a low turnout affair at the end of July. Just imagine Texas at the end of July, how many people really want to show up to vote then. And David Dewhurst has essentially unlimited cash resources in this. He's a very wealthy candidate.
We'll be watching it. Shira, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up.